Hey, welcome to Mooney Reads. My name is Beck, and today I am bringing you the Rent Readathon Tag. As you all are likely aware, Kathy Tridhart and I will be hosting the Rent Readathon from the 17th to the 23rd of January. If you're not aware of that, I will link announcement videos down below. But we have also put together a book tag. We basically sat down and looked at the songs from Rent, picked a few of the iconic ones, and made book prompts based around them. First, we have Over the Moon, in which you should tell us the weirdest book that you have experienced. For this, I have Dream Boy by Jim Grimsley. I'm not totally sure if this is 100% the weirdest book that I've experienced, but it's definitely up there. It's a gay book that was written in the 90s, and it seems fairly normal at face value. It's been a few years since I've read it, but from what I remember, it's this guy, I think he's a teenager, but it's looking at his sexuality, and he's like fallen in love with this guy. The main feeling that I remember from this was that of confusion. One of the first weird aspects come when they're having sex in a graveyard on somebody's grave. The details were just really strange. The majority of what made it really weird, though, was the ending. And I don't want to go out and just, say the ending of this, because I was not expecting it, and I still don't know if I enjoyed reading this book or not. I still don't know if it was a waste of time, but I do want to reread it to actually figure it out, so I guess it wasn't a total waste of time. I just came out super confused. Prompt number 2 is the most iconic song of the musical, Seasons of Love, which is to tell us about a book that does not center romantic love. And for that, I have the Boy Trilogy. This is a middle grade graphic novel trilogy that centers on Aster, who comes from a magical family. And in these magical families, the girls are witches and the boys are shapeshifters. But Aster isn't really good at shapeshifting. It's not what he feels like he's meant to do, but he's really interested in witch magic. One of the big things that has to happen throughout these is him talking to his family and them coming to terms with the fact that he is a witch. So there's a really big component of family, but there are also the most wholesome friendships. His best friend Charlie is the best. She is enthusiastically loyal, and then you get a couple of other people coming in later on in the series. And it's just a lot of fun. There's no real central romance. I think towards the end, a couple of the side characters have crushes on each other. But this is really mostly about family and friendship. Next, we have Santa Fe. Tell us about a book that involves travel. And for that, I have Are You Listening by Tillie Walden. This is a road trip novel in which two neighbors who are more or less acquaintances end up going on a road trip across West Texas. They're each, in some ways, running away from or processing really big events in their life. There's stuff about loss. There's stuff about coming out, and also dealing with the aftermath of sexual assault. But while they're on this journey, they find this cat that they're trying to bring home. And that's where things end up turning a little bit fantastical. So, this is very character-driven with some fantasy elements, and I adore this. I adore everything that I've read by Tillie Walden thus far. The next prompt that I have is for Take Me or Leave Me. Tell us about a book with an unapologetic character. For this, I have The House of Impossible Beauties by Joseph Cassara. In this, we have at least 2 characters that are very unapologetic and will absolutely take no shit. I will say that one of the most depressing aspects of this book is seeing their lives change and that mentality sort of shift. So, definitely warning going into this book that it gets fucking depressing. But this was one of my absolute favorite reads of the year. Next is I'll Cover You. And for that, we want you to tell us about your favorite literary couple. This was particularly hard because there are a lot of really good couples to pick from. And it's not a tag video unless I have at least one question where I talk about more than one book. So, I have 2 books for this. Both are graphic novels. Both are wholesome as hell. I have Mooncakes which is a fantasy. It's very autumnal, very witchy. This book focuses on Nova, who is a witch. She runs across her childhood best friend, Tam, who is a non-binary werewolf. And together they have to figure out what exactly is going on with this demon that's in the forest nearby. So, there is that bit of plot that's interesting, but really them, like, as a couple, are just so fucking cute. If you're looking for a cozy comfort read with lots of fall vibes, this is where you should go. And the other couple that I have is, naturally, Nick and Charlie from Heartstopper. If you've been on the bookish internet, you know what Heartstopper is. And it focuses around Nick and Charlie, who are in high school. Their dynamic is just adorable. And even though the series does end up hitting on some pretty serious issues, it all still comes back to that wholesome, squishy feeling. So it's never, like, too heavy. The next question is Out Tonight. Tell us about a character whose personality cannot be contained. And the first person that I thought of with this prompt was Julian Diaz from Cemetery Boys. Cemetery Boys almost made this list 3 times, honestly, because Julian and Yads are perfect. And Maritza would have fit really well for Take Me or Leave Me. But Julian was perfect for this. He is always exactly who he is. Going, vibrating, bouncing against the walls, on at 110% all of the time. And he is just fantastic. To borrow some words from the book, none of us deserve Julian Diaz. He constantly radiates this kind of chaotic joy that's just really overwhelming, and I love him. Next, we have Without You. Tell us about a sad book that you enjoyed. And I could have definitely used The House of Impossible Beauties for this, but since I've already used it for one, I have The Death of Vivek Ogee by Akwaeke Emezi. The title of the book tells you that it's going to be sad, but it follows different people in Vivek's life, and you get this idea of Vivek, and you also see all of the things that people also don't know about him. It's hard to give a synopsis beyond that, but the main theme that I get out of this has to do with queer authenticity. This is such a beautiful book. This is one of the best books that I read in 2020. Next, we have One Song Glory. Tell us about a character who got a second chance. For that, I have On a Sunbeam by Tilly Walden. This book focuses on Mia, who joins a member of a crew that are helping to repair various abandoned places throughout space. But this is dual timeline, so you're seeing her where she currently is now, and going back and forth from when she was in school, learning how to fly and falling in love with this girl. And throughout the story, these two timelines kind of come together. That's all that I'll say. I won't elaborate on who exactly fits this prompt, just because I feel like that would be a little bit of a spoiler. But if you've read this book, you know how it fits. And if you haven't, you should read it. Next is probably the second most iconic song to come out of the musical, and that is La Vie Bohem. Tell us about a book that inspires you. One book that inspires me is Pansy by Andrea Gibson. Andrea Gibson, just as a poet, inspires me. They write about so many different things. They talk a lot about their queer identity, both sexuality and gender. They also talk about chronic illness. They talk about some things with their family. I know that they have a few prominent poems about their relationship with her sister in particular. And they also talk about a number of other social issues as well. Their words are just incredible. Finally, we have Today for You, Tomorrow for Me. Tell us about a generous character. And even though I was one of the people who made this tag, I have found myself having a hard time answering this. Something that I realized trying to answer this question is I feel like generosity, when it's front and center of something, there's not a lot of like nuanced conversation about what that really means. I think that there are a lot of book characters that are sacrificial. They will sacrifice themselves, but I think that's kind of beyond generous. And I think that it would be really nice to see a nuanced conversation about what generosity looks like, what healthy generosity looks like, in these different stories. And I think this attitude about generosity versus self-sacrificing starts at a young age. So I've got a couple of pieces of children's literature that I think would add to this conversation. Of course, The Giving Tree, which is supposed to be like one of the quintessential kids' books. I know, like, The People Around Me, that's like one of the books that they get because Shel Silverstein is pretty great. But The Giving Tree is a piece of shit as a book. If you have not read it, basically the tree in the story keeps giving different parts of itself to this boy. So she'll give him some of her fruit. She'll give him some of her branches when he needs to, like, build a house and all of this stuff. By the end of the book, she's nothing but a stump. And he still comes to her as an old man and uses her as a seat. And it's supposed to be like a sweet story about being generous. I don't know if it's supposed to be a metaphor for being a mother or for being a partner. Either way, it's really terrible. And that highlights the sort of mentality that we see conflating generosity and self-sacrifice. Now, a book that does all of this very well that's a children's book, I think, is A Chair for My Mother, which is a story about a working class Latina family. It's a mom, a grandma, and a daughter. And the mom works a whole lot. You see a lot about the mom, like, constantly being at work, but they all are kind of saving their coins. And by the end of the book, they get a chair for the mom specifically so that the mom can rest her feet. And by the end of it, when they do get the chair, they are all using it too. They all fit on the chair. So this story, you get to see the mom character giving a whole lot. You also see all of the other people pitching in too. And by the end of it, they get something for someone. So they're giving back to the mom. And it's something that they all end up enjoying. That seems a lot more balanced. That is what I have for the Rent Readathon tag. I will be tagging some people in the description below. If you are not tagged, please feel free to do the tag anyways. And definitely be sure to check out Kathy's tag over on her channel, which I will also be linking in the description below. In the comments below, let me know what your favorite song from Rent is. Personally, I'll Cover You is one of my favorites. It gets me every time. But What You Own also fucking slaps. So that's up there as well. Thank you all so much for watching. Bye. And I can actually technically link it back around to Rent, because Today for You, Tomorrow for Me, that's Angel, who definitely gives a lot of parts of herself. But there's also another character that's not really recognized for his generosity, and that is Collins. I would argue that Angel and Collins are probably the only characters that aren't incredibly self-centered in the musical. As much as I love some of the other characters, they're really selfish. But Collins is a saint simply for not beating the shit out of every single one of those people in the second act. After a really sad part, if you've watched the musical, you know what I'm talking about. You know the shit they're saying. It makes me so fucking mad every single time. But